doing lives on the go is because I can take the phone with me and I can still get in and connect with people. Because before, I would just have the live in my pocket. I would just have the phone in my pocket and put my music on and try to squeeze in the lives in between or after I'm doing whatever else I'm doing. Now I actually squeeze the lives in, or I actually do the lives while I'm actively doing things that don't require my attention. Like, I can't do it during work. Obviously, I can't do it when I have to make calls or when I'm visiting patients. But I can do it during things like this on the way to clients or just walking around in my local park. This is not my favorite park, to be honest, but I've learned to just grin and bear it because it's the one that's nearby me that I don't have to use and waste my gas to get to, especially when you start doing a job where you are predominantly driving 90% of the month. But the downside is that it cuts off on me. It gets grainy sometimes, the streams cut off and I can't get them back on. But we work with it. Maybe one day they'll invent better technology, or maybe better technology already exists and I just don't have the money for it. But I think there is actually certain devices that you can get higher quality streams on the go. But like I said, that's an investment for down the road when I have money for that. Anyways, yeah, I'm past 10,000 already. But what I was going to say regarding the psychiatric ward. Oh, before I even get to that, I mentioned this on my other channel. I am down about 8 pounds. I am the lowest weight that I have been since maybe September of last year. That's a long time. October, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June. I'm the lowest weight that I've been in about 9 months. So by far, I was teetering between 195 to 199. And now I'm at 189. My goal is I was 178 at this time last year, but 178 is not my end goal. My goal is more like 170 eventually, but we're working towards that because my meal prep has been on point. Created all my meals in 2 days this week, and they're all in the meal prep container trays, and I have almost exclusively been eating from those meal prep trays. And then I have some fruits in between, and I have some almonds as a snack when I'm on the road, and that has been serving me well. The diet is really clean, and it's easier than I thought, because half of what has deterred me is getting these like meal plans where you have to have an extravagant amount of different things. Number one, it's expensive, and number two, it's time consuming. And you put those two things together and your boy is gonna fall off track in a week or less. So this is something that actually takes me 20 minutes to make and can last me for 5 days. Thank you. I wish I had discovered this sooner. The cleanse was hard, but the cleanse actually was what took away. I think I lost 5 pounds during the cleanse, and then I lost another 3 after the cleanse, with a combination of clean eating and then continuing to get in my high volume of steps every day and a couple of runs. Eventually, I'm going to build myself back up once my knee feels a little better from my injury and I'm further along with my physical therapy. Eventually, I'm going to build back up to doing runs. Hi, Ma. I'm going to start back up with doing runs instead of walking. I am doing some running, but I run like maybe once or twice a week and maybe a mile. There was a time I was running like 18 miles a week. I don't know if I'm going to go back to quite that high, but I might end up doing 9, 10 miles a week once my knee gets better. I love overcast and I love this temperature. People are always like, oh, I can't wait till the real summer comes because this is a little too cool for me. Me walking in like 70 degrees and overcast, man, this is ideal weather for me. Like, I love this weather. I could live in this weather 24/7. This is not, I'm not a 90 degree and sun person or even an 85 degree and sun. I'll start busting out sweating and I'll be really uncomfortable. That's what happens to me. Overcast is pleasant to me. Even sometimes rain is pleasant to me because there's going to be a lot less people out here. I walk in the rain sometimes, not without an umbrella. I dress up appropriately for it. I have a nice rain jacket, but I like the rain. Sometimes when it's really bad, if it's a storm, obviously, no. But like if it's a sprinkling or something and a couple of thunderclouds, I'm fine with that. But that's off track. The psychiatric ward and the nursing home. Two places that I never thought that I would be going to for work. The psychiatric ward, I've been open about this, that I spent time in the psychiatric ward when I was, I swear the older you get, the more you forget. The more you forget when you try to go back and do the math. This was 2013, so that was 11 years ago. So I was 25. I was 25 when I had my one and only experience in the psych ward. And I didn't know exactly what it was, and I didn't know what your experience was going to be like in there. But I remember it was when I was having the worst of my agoraphobia, and I looked up the psychiatric ward online. And based on the pictures that they had in there, it looked really nice. I thought it was a hotel stay. Hi, Cass. I definitely thought it was a hotel stay. So I packed up a bag of my clothes. I packed my computer. I had my phone with me. I had pen, paper. I had a lot of different things that I thought that I was going to have in the psych ward with me. And I remember I got there and the intake specialist was like, "What's this?" And I was like, "Oh, like it's my bag." She was like, "You can't have this in there with you." And I was like, "I can't? Nobody ever told me that." She said, "Did you ask anybody?" And I was like, "No, but I looked this place up online. Nobody said anything about taking away stuff." I mean, now I realize that was a real funny conversation, because if someone said that to me now, I'd be like, duh. Of course they're going to take away your stuff. They put you in an environment where they don't want you to be overstimulated by the outside world. They want to make sure that you can't harm yourself or harm others. Like, you can't have things that could be used as weapons, even things that are as simple as a knife and fork. They give you the plastic ones, and some people they don't even give them at all, depending on what they're in there for. Some people are in there for reasons of like avoiding prison, so, or like assault, things that they've done that they pled insanity, and they won't let them have those objects. And then they'll have somebody walking around with them all day, all night, sit in the room with them all night. So I remember being in there. When I first went in, I was not forced in. I was not forced to be in there. I voluntarily checked myself in there, and I made sure to ask the intake specialist, if I check myself in, can I leave whenever I want? She said yes. Little did I know that I was signing paperwork that said I can be there. I'm changing my status from voluntary admission to involuntary admission, meaning they choose when you leave. And You can only leave when they determine you're not a danger to yourself or a danger to others. They want you focusing on healing you. I mean, I have thoughts on the psych ward that I'm going to give later. So, um, yeah. So I remember the very first day I walked in there, I was like, ooh, I don't want to be in this place. Looking at who was there and who was around me, all the noise and the fighting and the yelling and the people running through the hallway, and just, it was too much. And I was like, I made a mistake. So I called my mom and I was like, Mom, get me out of here. Thinking that she could just sign me out and I could leave. They didn't let me leave. I remember the first day, the first minutes that I walked in there. Somebody walked over to me. It's like this 18-year-old. We were friends for a while, actually. And he was just like, hey, this is my name. This is what I'm here for. And that's tuxedo cat. They're so cute. Anyways, that got sidetracked a little bit. That is a cute little cat. I feel bad for it. Yeah, that's how it is. It's 72 hours mandatory. Yep, that is correct. So anyway, and I was there for more than 72 hours, even though I definitely did not think I... Oh, I hope we're back on. This gets really annoying and old for me. This is a sign that I'm ending this walk pretty soon. Or at least I'm ending this live pretty soon, if it doesn't end on me. But anyways, yeah, so when I got in there, I spoke to him. He calmed me down a little bit because I was scared in there. And then, oh, the cat is looking for food. He's trying to be a star. He or she is trying to be a star. Anyways, Mark and the cat. So, yeah. So anyways, as I was talking, this lady yells, "Keep my name out your effing mouth." And I was like, what? I've never seen her before. I don't know her. And she was like, yeah, mother effer, you and your ugly ass beard, this and that. Like, she was just cursing me out fierce. And I was scared and mad at the same time. So I remember one of the people working there came over to me and was like, what's going on here, so-and-so? I still remember her name, but so-and-so. And she was like, this person was talking about me. He was saying my name, and he needs to keep my name out of his effing mouth. And I was like, I don't know your name, lady, and I wasn't talking about you. So then the person working there was like, Mark, excuse me, please apologize to her. And I was like, no, I'm not apologizing to her for something that didn't happen. So the worker says, oh, I apologize on his behalf for what he was saying about you. Then she pulls me to the side and says, excuse me, Mark, your diagnosis and her diagnosis are different. You know, like, you have your anxiety disorder, your depression, your panic disorder. She has schizophrenia with delusions, and she hears voices, and she has auditory hallucinations. So if we did not tell her that you apologize, she would flip out, and then we'd have to give her the shot to put her to sleep. So that's why we did that. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. I don't care. She yelled at me and she cursed at me, and we're both patients in a psych ward. So I'm not trying to hear anything about me being high functioning and her being low functioning and her diagnosis being worse than mine. This is true, but if you have that type of thing going on, that's where everybody is supposed to be separated. And actually, that's how the psych ward was supposed to be. They have different sections for different types of diagnoses. They're supposed to have a violent male floor, a violent female floor. They're supposed to have a floor for people who are in there for like certain charges that they have on them, that they're in the psych ward instead of in jail, right? And then there's supposed to be like women's floor, men's floor, and there's supposed to be people with what is considered serious mental illness, and then others. But because of the way that the system is all jumbled up, they put everybody together, and then you get things like this where they're trying to ask you, who is a patient, to have understanding for another patient. You're all in the psych ward. Listen to what I'm saying. You're all in the psych ward as patients. So at that point in time, listen, you know how I talk about taking the higher road on my YouTube page, taking the higher road at work, taking the higher road in professional settings, even taking the higher road with friends and family at times. I did not care about taking the higher road in the hospital. I was petty in the hospital. I spoke back to all those people. If their voices were talking to me, I talked back to their voices. Trust me, I was not the same person in there that I have been anywhere else. That was a totally different time period in my life. And I desperately wanted to get out of there. And I was getting in all these different fights with all these different people for the first few days that I was there, because it was disturbing my peace more being in there than it was assisting me to get out of the funk that I was in. Hi, Lisa. So anyways, what ended up happening from there was it extended my stay, because they observe you and they watch how you are, and they saw that I was not attending any of the group therapy that they had, that I was going back and forth with different patients that were not, and I wasn't going at the patients like I was looking for them to fight. For an example, there was somebody who was outside who had just gotten in there, and then they came in and they were screaming and they were angry, and they were talking about, oh, my husband called and put me in here, and I shouldn't be in here, and everybody else in the outside, my husband, my son, all these other people are crazy, and I'm not crazy, so I shouldn't be in here. She's yelling and screaming. During the day, I was kind of used to the yelling and screaming, but at nighttime, this lady, so the front desk was right outside my room, so she camped out by the front desk and was like, I'm not going to sleep. Now, if anyone knows anything about me in general, I hate being woken up out of my sleep, and I hate people who won't let me sleep and are inconsiderate like that. So she's screaming and screaming for an hour, 2 hours, and on top of that, I'm in an environment that is already agitating me, and then the bed that I'm sleeping on, rock hard. The pillow that I had, rock hard. I had no blanket. It was freezing in there, so my sleeping conditions were already terrible. I had a roommate that was on a 1-to-1 because he stabbed somebody. So that means a 1-to-1 means somebody who could never be left alone at any point in that psych ward. So we had a man that sat in the room on a chair, that had a shift, that had to sit in there all night. So there were so many things that made it uncomfortable for me. And then you had this screaming lady. I let go for an hour. I let it go for 2. I thought that she was going to go to sleep. Eventually, while I was laying in the bed with my eyes open, listening to her screaming, I got up and I screamed at her. My version of screaming, because I wasn't screaming like how she was, but I yelled at her. I was just like, I'm trying to sleep. It's like, get your behind up. I'm censoring it. And go to bed, because you're keeping everybody up, and I'm sick of this. You've been at this all day, and now you're at this all night. boy, was that ever the worst mistake that I made, because then she made me her target. Then she's talking about my beard, and at the time I had this big nappy afro. She's talking about my hair. She's talking about my voice. She was like, proper, proper. You talk so proper. It was this black lady. Like, you talk so proper. And somebody had to sit me down eventually, one of the other, a frequent flyer in the hospital, and explain to me, the less you argue and the more you cooperate with the groups and things, is the faster that you can get out and be back home. So after about 8 to 9 days in there, I started cooperating. I stopped with the fighting, and it was hard. It was hard because when people say things to me, especially back then before I was doing this as a profession, I wasn't thinking about their illness when they were talking about me. I was just listening to the words. Who cares what you have? I just care what you're saying to me. How dare you say that to me? So after 13 days, they let me out. When I got out, I was like, this is traumatizing. This is an experience I never in life want to have again, and I've never had it again. And I hope to never have it again. This is longer than I thought. Mark is feisty. I've heard this topic before from others. They made my friends stay longer too. You're written it down. Yeah, they probably did put me as non-compliant. Anyways, let me see. Oh, are you serious? This thing was on mute this whole time? Goodness. Um, I'm not repeating this story. I apologize. Take care, y'all. Have a good night.